to be Paris. Of course it had to be Paris.
J.K. Rowling never disappoints. She's done her own research in and around Paris. It's very, very specific.
It's a great pleasure to work with her because she's incredibly collaborative. She sort of really appreciates that together, I and this wonderful group of people ultimately are bringing her work to the screen.
You give Stuart one line of description and bang, he gives you a world.
For a designer, of course, that's the best bit of receiving the script, worrying yourself to death initially, and then working out how you're going to do it and slowly putting it together with the help of research and some very skilled artists.
It's this amazing combination of artistry and logistics, and the delivery of those concepts into a sort of hard-standing set out on the back lot, and the amount of time that they deliver those worlds in. They built the world for me, all in a car park in Watford. Paris of the 20s was a real melting pot of ideas, creatively, artistically, socially.
Everyone thinks, wow, Paris, why are we shooting there? It's like a museum. Those buildings are the same buildings, they've been there for hundreds of years, but the reality is those buildings have all been cleaned. They've been jet washed since the 70s and 80s. And then the ground floor is all very modern and the street furniture has changed. To get that authenticity, you need to have control.
Well, Paris is a little bit different to the Paris we know today. It's a little grayer, but it's still gorgeous, beautiful Paris with its wide boulevards, but also its little secret alleyways. It's magical in its own way.
Stuart went out to Paris, had a nice, walk around, sort of absorbed a bit of Paris into his mind, and then pretty much designed the whole set from scratch.
We photographed things we liked, apartment blocks we liked, shops that we liked, and we made a kind of collage of these images. In building this big complex set, we placed these elements that we liked very close together. There are no sort of dull bits in between, as it were. Everything design-wise is significant and interesting. There are 30, 40 people upstairs working in the art department with me who draw using CAD programs. I'm the kind of dinosaur with a wooden pencil.
He's got a lovely team. The art department are always my favourite department because whenever you go up there, one, they've got all these cool things everywhere on the walls and we can discuss pictures and models of things and you can move things around.
Physical models in white card have proven to be the ideal way to present a set to David Yates. They're not very atmospheric made in white card, they're very sort of sterile looking, but they represent the exact space. Entrances, exits, windows, great interest to the cameraman and the director.
Not only does he come up with this amazing world that he builds, first in concepts and models, but then he delivers it. He actually builds it.
We started on the movie in September last year, and we began shooting it in June this year. So that's 8-9 months from the beginning, the very first drawings. We had 16 weeks planned as the building time, and we, various reasons, had less than that. It's a pretty ambitious set for 16 weeks of building, and even more ambitious for about 14 weeks is probably what we had.
You get a script, and then from that script we work out how many sets there are. And once we've got that set, Stuart will then sit down and he'll just do a little sketch and we'll work our way back from that. I will then go off, instruct all the HODs of the various departments to do a sample board. We get a big menu for each of the sets all laid out for us, and Stuart will then work his way through that, choosing each of the different textures and paints as we go through all of the sets. And then from there, I will then bring in the crew, which will be carpenters, plasterers, the stagehands, the riggers, painters, and then we start working our way through this big list of sets that we have to build in a very short period of time and keep it on budget. Time is the biggest enemy, and our weather as well. Even in the summer, we can't guarantee having a sunny day.
Some people would say that I tend to build big. It is true, but traditionally, sets on studio backlots are compressed. Backlot isn't that big, the budget isn't that big. We've been at pains here on this movie not to do that, for the streets to be real width, sidewalks, the real width. And I think it's a huge part of the credibility of this place.
The Art Nouveau period obviously was really particularly strong in Paris and France.
in the 20s. So we were able to kind of harness that in a lot of the designs that we did for the film, from posters to street signage and props.
The interesting thing about working to a period is there's almost a set of stylistic rules, a set of rules about how things were manufactured in the time period. It's almost liberating. It gives you a little set of rules for the prop makers to really work with and interpret and riff off, really. Obviously on a film like The Potters or Fantastic Beasts, there's an element that you can't find, that you can't hire, that you can't buy, that has to be made. And that's really where we come in. We contribute to the making of the world in that way.
We did shop in lots of French markets. We went to an amazing number of trade markets in the Paris area. We went to Le Mans, to Chartres, Chateau, all these big fairs, and we just bought. And we had to think, oh, I could use that, and I could paint that, or maybe that could work. And we've used everything. It's been incredible.
The films are becoming bigger and bigger, so... Yeah,
so where you've got a shop, it will be full of product, which has to have labels and price tags and branding and point of sale and advertisements on the side of buildings, so it snowballs. We try and immerse ourselves a little bit in the details that no one else is particularly interested in. It's kind of our little indulgence, if you like. So that's anything from typography, advertising, illustrations, printing techniques, and how things would have been actually manufactured.
Yeah.
And all those things all go into the palette of how we would then work. For example, a lot of our typography is actually scanned typefaces from the period, so they really are anchored in that time. But of course, that period was just absolutely florid with illustration. Any poster you see from the period for an advertisement or the sideshows in the circus or the theatre, artists were painting and illustrating to some length to get a beautiful piece of art. So that's quite a challenge.
Yeah, it was such a big thing that even the artists were able to sign the posters.
We are in the Muggle world, which is a gift to a designer because it's such
an amazing, beautiful period. But it's much more fun when you are in the magical world.
Appare fastidium. Place Cachée is a square in Paris. It has two separate characters, really. It is what it appears to be at first glance, just another part of Paris, a regular part. But it's also transformed into the magical world.
The Place Cachée is the square, and as anyone who knows French will know, the name means hidden square. You walk through a statue and bang, you're into magical Paris.
It's like he's taken the spirit of Paris in that era and then the spirit of the wizarding world and married them in such a natural way.
Stuart particularly felt it was important to pay homage to Diagon Alley, to have that connection.
It is a full-on Diagon Alley, but in Parisian buildings.
Anna Pinnock and her team did an amazing job completely refilling all the shops with wizarding merchandise.
As you'll see from the set dressing in the windows, cauldrons and Quidditch.
Wands, carriages, dressing for streets, funky candy floss machines. We make everything here.
Place Cachée is where you would go to do your magical shopping, and it's also where the Circus sets up shop.
The Circus had a rather charming old-fashioned design.
For the Circus on the Street, we painted their kind of 10-foot by 12-foot banners with the creatures on, so it's circus banner artwork.
We had to build 3 tents in the end, interior, exterior, tiny miniature tent.
We did lots of street carts and sideshows outside. We strung up festoon lights.
With all the costumes and the background eyes, filling it full of wizarding characters as well.
You don't realise the effort that goes into everybody's department. It's wondrous.
Art department is my favourite department in the whole of Leavesden. What they do is entrancing to me. The books and the papers and the posters and the letters, all of these physical, touchable objects that they make.
It's such a visual film, such a challenge to do, but that's the whole point of coming to work. We don't want to do things that are easy or things that are simple, straightforward. We want to be proud of what we're doing.
It's incredible to see Stuart Craig and his energy and the drive. For a man of his experience and years, he just inspires all of us.
And you're always learning. I mean, he's an amazing teacher.
He knows everything.
He's a bit of a Dumbledore.
He's something else. It's experience and it's knowing the best people that he brings in.
It's just this hub of expertise. Everyone there is just the best at what they do. It's amazing. You walk from department to department to department. You know, I always avoid the word magic. It's such a cliche because it's me, but it's magic. It is magical. It just is magical there. I'm unapologetic, it's magical.